Welcome to the Warband, a World of Warcraft podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Swaglock, and with me today, your favorite host, Chicken. Dude, Chicken, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Not doing too bad, other than, I feel like death right now.
I don't know, dude. What's going on?
I'm hanging in there, man. Seasonal allergies. Oof.
That makes
shout
sense.
Out to those, shout out to the Zyrtec gang. Or the Claritin gang, whatever you take for allergy medicine. Like, it's rough. But it's kind of my own fault. I took like a 20-mile bike ride this morning, and the pressure and the wind was just awful this morning.
Dude, you just gotta eat a ton of pollen so you can become like immune to it. That's the trick. You just gotta force your body to remain immune. That's what I do with cheese, man. I just eat cheese nonstop and drink milk. Just so I can never become lactose intolerant. That's my trick.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that like the opposite?
Nah, dude. I had a roommate one time who stopped drinking milk for like a month or two for like some weird diet thing he was doing. And then immediately when it was over, he tried to drink milk again and was suddenly lactose intolerant.
What? That's fake news.
Nah, dude, it happened. It happened. He was my roommate. Now, granted, I don't know any of the science behind it. Somebody will probably comment on Discord and be like, Swag, actually, that's not how this works. But have
something to do with like lactose. Anyways,
this
isn't the
lactose
podcast.
It's my excuse to eat cheese. I love cheese.
It's my excuse to eat cheese. Anyways, hey, what have you been up to this week?
Oh yeah, man, it's been pretty good. Not like I think the last couple episodes I have been doing like a lot of dungeon running and like really filling out my vault with dungeon gear. And this past week and this week so far right now as of recording this podcast hasn't really been that. It's just kind of a bummer. I don't even think I have like one slot I want in the vault. Life's just busy.
Oh, dang.
Wedding's coming up, so I haven't really been able to do that. Plus the times I have been on, I've just had a little bit more fun and been enjoying helping other players, right? So Yodabot, who's been one of our Discord mods for, 4 or 5 years now. He's been here around since the Minecraft days and Fortnite days, and he's finally made the switch to WoW. And so now that he's playing WoW with us, I'm like, dude, I gotta get you ready to raid with us. And so it was fun having him at his first raid last night. So Friday night we were raiding with him. You were there, which is good. I enjoyed having you back at raid as well. And so that's kind of been this week. Has been helping some friends out with content, getting some gear, which has been nice. It's funny running into a dungeon with like my tank and like we're wrapping up, and they're not like high keys. It's like 5, 6s, 7s.
Yeah,
but I'm still like the top DPS at the end of the key. I'm like, okay, that feels pretty good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness,
I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. So that's been fun. Work on my healer a little bit. We did try some mythic raiding this week with our guild. I think.
Yeah, I saw that, dude.
Yeah, well, because we were on the fence, right? We really want to do it, but then by the time we get AOTC, it takes so long that a lot of our better players are just kind of like, hey, we slammed a ton, like, because our really good players, obviously, they play nonstop at the start of the season, and I think they were just feeling a little worn out and a little burnt out on content, so they kind of back off, and then we're just sitting there like, okay, well, a couple of our, not all of them, but a couple of our better players, right, are now out. Do we really have the strength to like keep pushing Mythic? And you know what? We just made the call. We're like, we're just give it a shot. Who cares? If it doesn't go well, who cares? Right? We're just going to try it. And so we got the first boss down, and we made good progress on Cauldron. We made very good progress on Cauldron. So I think we're going to continue with it. I think we're going to keep trying and see what happens.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's an encouragement for anybody who's listening to the podcast right now. Dude, if there's something in the game that you want to give a shot to, even if you're nervous about it, even if you don't think you'll do well, just try it. Like at the end of the day, it's just a game. It's just a game, And now within the guild, it's easy because nobody's gonna sit there and start slandering you. When it comes to like M+ or like pugging things or stuff, maybe somebody's gonna trash talk you, but who cares? Who cares? You'll never see him again. You know what it reminded me of?
Hopefully not.
My card's in the shop, and they weren't calling me back by the time I thought they would call me back. And so I like waited a couple more hours. I'm like, dude, this is kind of weird. Like they still haven't called me yet. Maybe I'll give them a call. Maybe I gave them my number wrong. And I'm like, I can't bother them. If I bother them, then like they'll be annoyed with me. And I just stop myself and like, who cares? Like, who cares if they're annoyed with me? Like, what does that even matter,
car,
right? Like they have my car. I got to know like how I'm getting to work this weekend. How
right, man? You're paying them.
Yeah, I got to figure all this stuff out. So who really cares? And while I was having that thought, it made me think of like M+, and like the number of times I'm just like forming a group or applying to a group, and I'm like, oh, what if I don't do well enough? What if they get upset with me? I'm like, who cares, dude? I'm literally never gonna see these people. Like, I'll never see them.
Dude,
So who cares?
it's funny that you mentioned that because a couple weeks ago we talked about this.
Yeah.
And like to preface this, like it's been kind of weird because like I feel like we've been opposite like the last 2 weeks. Like I feel like typically you're like filling out the vault and it's like I might get like 1 or 2 dungeons in, but like sometimes I just don't like
Yeah.
have the desire to play. You know, new Fortnite season's out, you know, a couple weeks ago, so you know I've been kind of grinding that. But like I've just been pushing M plus, dude, filling out my Mythic plus slots with all 10s. Like the
Nice.
last 2 weeks, like I'm like straight going. Like I got all my portals, I think -1, because I just like am like. I cannot get like a good Cinder Brew. Cinder Brew, I think is low key not
Ooh,
the best dungeon.
what part of Cinder Brew is holding you up?
I just don't. The boss fights just. I just don't like them. I think like to be honest, I think it's the fact that the dungeon is just too tight. Like everything just feels like super close. Like I feel super confined. Like it almost makes me like claustrophobic, if you will.
Yeah.
Like I just don't like it about that dungeon. Like everything's just so tight. Where like I feel like most of the other dungeons this season, actually, I think all of them are like quite the opposite, right? I can't really think of one that's really like tight knit.
Yeah, Cinder Brew is going to be the most linear, I think, dungeon, right? If anything, it probably reminds me of you know what it reminds me of. What was it? Stone Vault? Was that Stone Vault last season?
Oh yeah, Stone Vault, 100%. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I will say though too, right? Like to that same. Well, I mean, like literally, right? You go down the path, you fight the one boss right at the start, you branch left and right. You can choose which way you go.
Yeah.
Boss at the end of each corridor, right? You come back, then you go do the other boss. You come back, and then you head down the middle lane, which in this case is the bees take you up to the window, and then you fight the final boss, right? Yeah. It's basically Cinder Brew.
Oh, it's pretty close.
Stone Vault, I mean, basically Stone Vault.
It's almost like the kiss curse that I don't like with Stone Vault, but it's kind of like, oh, like I do like it, but I don't like it. Where there's like in Cinder Brew, there's just like certain packs that are in like certain places that it's like so easy to butt pull them. Where in Stone Vault, it's like, hey, you basically got to pull like every single piece of trash in the linear zones or else you won't get percent. Where Cinder Brew is a lot more forgiving, where hey, you know, there's a couple extra packs, if you know, grab them, you know, you're definitely gonna get percentage, right?
There's one spot I think you can skip in Cinder Brew, right? It's the I mean, and I guess you could pull it and then maybe I know some people try to do a skip on the ogres or the hobgoblins.
Oh yeah. It's like I swear, like every time before the B boss is like where I just get like so many deaths, and it's like, okay, well, this basically just kills the run, and I just haven't had good luck with that. Every other dungeon, I feel like I'm vibing with though,
because I feel like up to the bees isn't too bad. The other hallway to me scares me more with the guys who charge. I will say though, the bosses, from a tank perspective, the bosses in Cinder Brew, dude, the bosses in there they're very tank heavy fights in terms of like positioning.
And they're very movement oriented too.
Yeah.
Like it's like placement. I mean, obviously there's not like crazy tank busters. I mean, there might be a few, but like it's more like movement dependent and like spatial awareness, right?
Yeah, 100% right.
And like nothing like ticks me off more is when people are like pinging like, oh, move the boss here, like, oh, move the boss here. And I'm like, bro, like, come on, dude. I even pulled out the, hey, maybe you should be a tank since you want to tell me what to do so much. Like I pulled that out this week and I was like, bro, I'm like, I just can't with people. Like,
absolutely,
it's so bad sometimes. Like people are just like, oh, move the boss over here, man. Ping, 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 ping. It's like, bro, stop. Like,
dude, yeah.
I've literally like, I've never had problems tanking a dungeon like this before. And one guy in this dungeon is just like all over the place.
Oh yeah, dude, that one is such a. I will say a lot of groups have trouble in that, just in terms of like how they want to route, how they want to do things, which you think wouldn't be a problem because it's so linear, but somehow it is. Yeah. Even such a linear dungeon.
Oh, it is. Oh my goodness, dude.
Like in terms of like the linear versus like open kind of debate, right? Like I will admit, Floodgate has become one of my favorite keys this season.
Oh, dude, Floodgate's good. I like Floodgate.
Yeah, I will say in Floodgate, ironically, the part of Floodgate that like I like the least is the linear part, right? The part I like the least.
Oh yeah,
is,
the ending. Oh
yeah,
my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, we have to go down into the sewer. That's where like I'm like, But when you're just like out there and you're like, okay, I like to pull this pack and I like to pull this pack and this is the route I do. And everybody kind of has their own like little quirks to their route. That to me is fun, right? Because then you can kind of go, oh, I play this class as a tank. This class does really well pulling in this way, right? And so that to me is fun, right? Like I really like that where like there's a pull early on in the dungeon where I will ping where I want the group to be, which is I want them to run left around the water towards the guy who's like on the scaffolding, and then I will run right. Yeah. And I will just tag everything, and then as soon as I tag everything and get to the scaffolding guy, I pop Slappy Hands, or Abomination Limb for people listening. Mm-hmm. And when I pop A-Bomb Limb, it just rips everybody over to me that I've already tagged. And it's just so freaking convenient. Now, if I was playing my Monk, I probably would not do that pull, right? Because on my Monk, I'd be like, oh, I should probably tag him differently and push him differently, right? Yeah. But in this specific dungeon, in this specific case with my DK, yeah, dude, I like to route that way. So I've really found that I like a lot of these more open world dungeons. Now, the exception being, I still haven't fallen in love with Motherlode yet.
No, Motherlode's awful.
And like,
no, I hate Motherlode.
The two parts of Motherlode I like the least are the kind of like the opening leading right to the first boss, right? I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't like the last run of Motherlode up to the last boss when you're going through the minefield.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm kind of figuring out that open pathing. Like the start of the dungeon, I'm kind of figuring that out. I don't really do some of those crazy skips that people do because I pug a lot and they're just too high risk for pugs.
Mm-hmm.
Way too high risk for pugs.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're way too high risk. And I'll be honest, Motherlode is the only dungeon I've not tanked this season. That's the only dungeon. I will 100% thoroughly DPS in that dungeon every single time. I mean, I got the portal for it, so it's not like I definitely I've literally played Unholy like twice for dungeons, and it was like an 8 Motherlode and a 10 Motherlode.
If that minefield wasn't there, I think Motherlode would be I would like it a lot more because I would be like, oh, I don't like the opening part, but I'm willing to learn it. But and plus, once you learn it, you're like, oh, I know this is fun. But to me, the mine part at the end is just always chaos. It's just always chaos. Mm-hmm. There's no getting around that. It's just always going to be a chaotic time, especially in a pug group. And so I'm just like, it is what it is. You live and you learn.
And like, I feel like the bosses in that dungeon aren't really that bad either.
Mm-hmm. I also don't like the hardest
really not
part
that
being
bad.
the end. Yeah.
Like the last boss is kind of like iffy, like it's kind of annoying, but like it's really not that hard a boss.
Yeah, I mean the bosses are free, right? Like that. I mean, the first boss is so easy, dude. I mean, again, you have to know the mechanics. So if you don't know the mechanics of the fights, you can cause big problems. But so as you know the mechanics, nothing is complicated, right? Hey, tank has to move the first boss a little bit so he doesn't pick up his gold. DPS, make sure to kick those balls into the boss. And half the time, I'm kicking like half the balls because they just happen to spawn nearby. I'm like, oh, I can just grab them easy peasy.
Yeah, right. It's not that hard.
And then the second boss, right, is the rock guy, I believe, right? That one's probably the more complex one. Like I would say of harder bosses, I think that one might be the harder one because you're having to deal with ad management more than just like position, right? It's not just like, oh, stand here and then stand here and then stand here. But even still, not a terrible fight.
Yeah, not
a terrible fight. Then you run to the third boss, and if I'm forgetting a boss, let me know. But I think there's only 4. And then you run to the third boss.
There's only 4.
Yeah, right. And the only thing is you just have to remember to use the spray gun to push back the Azurite stuff.
Yeah, dude. The third boss, like, come on, that boss is free as it gets. Dude.
First and third boss are so easy, so stinking easy. Second boss is moderately easy, and then the last boss. I think the first time I did the last boss, we like wiped pretty bad, and I was like, oh, this is a really hard fight. And then I learned the mechanics. I was like, oh, never mind. This fight.
No, it's not that bad.
Like I never get to that last boss and go, I hope we don't wipe here. Like, yeah, we're not gonna wipe here. You know?
Yeah, dude.
But
bro. Anyways, what started this conversation was you being a little more like reserved about doing keys, and you know, you talked about that a couple weeks ago when you were talking about 12s, and I wanted to bring it up then, but we never did, or I never did, and you know, maybe one day we'll get some kind of, you know, short platform of content where we you know, review what we said on the week before's podcast. No spoilers. But you talked about how like you're just a little more reserved about doing 12s, like am I actually ready for this, like blah blah blah. And you know, I think that's something that battles me a lot, where I'm like, hey, like, am I actually ready for this 10? Like, clearly knowing that I'm ready. And you know, I've always been like the 90-10 rule, where it's like, hey, I want to be 90% confident that I can time this dungeon, right? And that's why I'm like so over geared for a lot of the dungeons that I do. And you saying that kind of like reassured me of that a little bit, but it was also kind of like I'm maybe a little conservative with that. So last week I did that a lot, just like, who cares? Like, I'm just going to do dungeons. Like, who cares if we time them? And I would say I probably timed half of them, but the good thing about a 10 is whenever you run a 10, like, most people are committed to running it, right?
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter if you time it or not. Like, people want the vault slot, right?
Absolutely. Once you get to that 11, 12, especially 12, it becomes more about timing.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot from playing like you, where it's just like, who cares? Like, I'm just going to do it, right? Like, I was so reserved before, and like, I feel like this is the fastest I've ever gotten all my portals in a season, and now, you know, I'm like, hey, like, maybe I actually take a good push at this, you know, KSL. You know, I got KSM, KSH. Like, I don't know, maybe I should. So TBD, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. But dude, I get it. I've had such a mental shift right now, going from like, hey, we're just running it and timing it. Because I remember the first, like not the first time, but recently I was running a 12, and it was looking like pretty good. It was looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And then right before the last boss, we just, it was a floodgate, ironically. It was a floodgate. And right before the last boss, we died. We wiped to the 2 thugs. They were there. I just miscalculated my defensives. And so, of course, right, I die because they just hit hard. They really start to hit hard.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And so I go down. And when you die as a tank, I'm going to be honest, like, it hits your pride a little bit.
It does. Oh yeah.
Dude, so I'm already feeling kind of crappy. And the druid in our group, I'm not gonna name what server he's from, but you know, like, listen, if you happen to listen to a previous episode of the podcast, you might know that there's one server that always dips on me in dungeons when things don't go well. Not gonna name names though. This also happened after I made that comment, by the way, because I felt bad for making that comment on the podcast. So I intentionally invited this guy just to be like, no, I'm wrong. That's not a true thing. So, anyways. Right. So, anyways, he just goes, and he wasn't totally mean, like, he wasn't mean about it, but it was just like, hey guys, looks like we're not gonna time this. I only want to complete a dungeon if it's timed, and then just left.
Yeah, that's
like,
nuts. Like,
yeah, and I get it to an extent where I think Raider.io or something shows, it shows like if you've timed, or like if you've have like untimed keys recently or something. Which I think it probably shouldn't exist on there. I mean, I'm usually one for like the more information, the better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess what they're afraid of too is like showing that their best dungeon is untimed. I don't know what that means. But
gotcha.
All of that to say though, like, you know, I've had to mentally shift, because remember that happened, and I got like so angry and went to our guild Discord and started ranting about it. One of the guys in our guild Discord is like, dude, that's just how it is. Like, the norm in that key range is that's the norm. Like, that's expected, which is fine. Like, if you just have to go in knowing that. Like, and I've had to like mentally shift myself, just going like, okay, we're running this. If it's not gonna be timed, people aren't gonna want to complete it. That's okay. And I think part of it is because, like, for me, I'm running my keys for 2 reasons. One, I want to push my rating up. I really want that 3K this season. That's my goal. My goal is 3K this season. I'm only at 2,700 right now, so I'm a ways off. But that's my goal. But also at the same time, separate, unlike maybe some other people who are running, I really wanted to have vault slots, right? So like I'm probably only gonna run like 8, 10 or higher keys this week, right? Like I don't have crazy amounts of time, so if I can get the 8 in to fill up my vault, that's better to me than just the rating, right? That's better than me than just the rating. I want both optimally. but better than just raiding. And so, yeah, it's kind of tough for me and then I go, crap, I don't know if I can commit any more time. Now I'm only 7 of 8 for that last vault slot. That kind of sucks, right? So, like,
Yeah.
it's a trade-off. And somebody's like, well, you have tank privilege. So, like, for you, it's easy. You can just get back into a dungeon. For them, it's hard because, like, if they show that they have too many untimed keys and people aren't going to want to invite them at all. And I was like, yeah, but it was my key. So, whatever. It is what it is.
That's kind of hard because it's like, at the end of the day, you still get something from timing that key. But, like, I don't know. I never look at that kind of stuff when I, like, generally accept people to a key. It's more just, oh, you're rating your eye level. Yeah. Have you at least timed maybe like 1 10 or 2 10s? I'm still in that kind of like 10 to 11 range right now.
Yeah.
So, definitely like, hey, have you timed at least one of these keys, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like, oh, this guy didn't time his last 3 keys at 12, so like I'm not gonna invite him. Like, no, I mean, like, I get it. And like, also like, you're talking about that death, right? Like, that was always my thing too. Like, I'm like running these 10s, and like half the time I'm not even hitting purgatory once because I'm just like pretty decently geared for most of them. And like, that's just my MO. It's like why do I do this? Like, I could easily push 10s. Yeah. And then, we're back in that problem of like, now people are pushing 10s that I'm not going to say they shouldn't be pushing 10s, but they're definitely, we're in that point of the season where people are pushing themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Where at the beginning of the season, like, the people that were running 10s are like, pushing themselves there, but now they're pushing themselves in like, 13, 14, 15s, right?
Yeah.
Now the people that are running like, 5s through 7s at the beginning of the season are now trying to push in that 10 range, right? Yep. So now it's kind of like I'm getting some of those guys, and some of these dungeons, it's just, we just don't have the DPS for it. Like, that's like honestly what it is. Like, I'm running a 10 and I'm like the number 2 DPS as a tank. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, dude, so it is kind of crazy sometimes. And it's tough because, like, again, seasons change. And by the way, though, I don't know what this means for next week, because next week is, I believe it's this Tuesday, right? The new juiced up thing starts. What's it called?
Yeah.
Turbo Boost, right? The Turbo Boost begins.
Turbo Boost.
And
Turbo Boost.
So then people, and by the way, though, this includes me, and it probably includes you, right? We're now with extra higher gear, right? And be able to craft more and push our eye level more. We're probably going to feel comfortable now pushing into higher key ranges than we are currently pushing, right? So maybe I'll build that confidence for the 12s. I wish I could have done it before the Turbo Boost started, because, that would have felt better. But even still, if I can get 3K by the end of the season, I will be a happy guy. I want that mount. I think it'll be cool. It's a nice achievement for me. I already have higher rating right now than I've ever had in a season, so kind of out of my comfort zone. But to what you're saying, I had a good experience this week, kind of similar to that. So we talked about Yodabot at the beginning of the podcast. One of our mods, he's learning WoW for the first time.
What
right?
a guy.
So I think he's actually enjoying it, which is good, because I tried twice before to get him into WoW, and he kind of quit during the leveling experience both times. And so
100%.
Finally got him to max level. I think he's enjoying it. Him and Brunick have been running content together, and so that's been good. But anyway, so him and I are in a dungeon, and we're running this dungeon, and this DPS is all right. Remember, again, first week ever doing keys, right? So DPS is all right, not crazy, but he's actually like holding his own a little bit. And so we complete this dungeon, and in this run, we did not time it though. We were under time. We had like a couple. No, wait. I'm trying to remember the runs. Because there was 2 runs we did. This one we did time. This one we did time. Never mind. This one we did time. We did time this one. So we complete the dungeon. And this warrior in our group we had who was overgeared and overqualified for this run, right? Like, we're doing a 5, and he had 2K rating, and like, I don't know, I want to say like 660 high level or something.
Sure. Yeah.
So like very overqualified, like very
juiced.
very overqualified for this dungeon, right? We complete the dungeon. And this warrior starts ranting about how Yodabot's damage wasn't high enough. He's like, you only did 500k DPS. And it's like, dude, the guy's learning. He's literally learning right now. We're just trying to gear him up for raid. And the guy's like ranting about it. And I pull up the logs, bro. My tank out DPS'd him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, let's not talk about the guy. Let's not talk about the guy who played who's playing WoW for the first week ever learning dungeons, right? Like let's talk about the guy who right now who has 2K rating, 660 eye level, and somehow is being outperformed by a tank. Let's have that count. And this wasn't like, oh hey, I had one good lucky pull. This was overall for the dungeon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, dude. WoW players, I love them. I was joking the other day, and I was like, players in WoW are the worst part of the game and the best part of the game, right? Like simultaneously, the best thing about WoW is the people, and the worst thing about WoW is the people. And it is interesting, no matter like, because again, this is a +5. It really doesn't matter that much, right? So for somebody to be like trash talking in a +5, it's like, what is wrong with you?
It's like, come on, like this guy, like he's got nothing better to do, right?
Absolutely, right. And I'm just happy to be there, like running content with friends, right? Like I'm just chilling, dude. I'm just chilling. Like it's a good time. We had a couple guildies in the group. I think they were all pretty upset to see that happen. But
yeah, no, it's annoying.
Yeah, so
it's like unprofessional.
Yeah, so but, I will say though, doing fives right, like this week, just helping out. I think I brought one of my random tanks to like a 2, and then like one that I haven't touched since like the beginning of season 1. So like barely level 80, walked into a +2. I didn't even gear it up. I think it was like 590 eye level.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a little rough. Maybe we timed it. We timed the key, but maybe I should have gotten a little more gear for stuff.
Yeah, honestly, dude.
It was okay. You ready to make fun of me?
I'm ready.
So it's a Mechagon on a class I literally haven't touched. On the class I literally have not touched since the beginning of season 1. Right. So it's my prop paladin. I barely played him last season. I ended up playing my Brewmaster as my secondary tank. Normally my prop paladin is my secondary. So I haven't touched him in a while. He has 590-ish gear. And I walk into a Mechagon, and guess what I did?
What?
I just pulled the whole first room.
I was gonna say you didn't pull the first whole room, man.
I did. I was like, I'll just pull the whole room. And to the credit, we had the Demon Hunter who used both of his stops on the pull, which was great.
Yeah.
But then no one else did. And so like I'm trying to throw out my shield like as much as I can to like keep the stops going and stuff, but or silence is at least kind of going. But because the problem is, again, I had to remind myself, I'm like, because there is a separation, by the way, between like those lower keys where people are just learning. They're just trying to learn the basic mechanics, trying to get through the dungeon. They're just enjoying it. There's a certain gameplay that they like. And then when you go higher into higher keys, right, you can kind of do a little bit more and be a little more creative because players are playing at such a higher level, right, in terms of like how they respond to things. So like there's the macro things, right? Like, oh, hey, don't stand in that big circle. Hey, get out of that frontal. And then there's the micro things that are like, hey, if we can keep these spells interrupted consistently, then we can pull 3 packs together instead of just 1 pack, right? And those micro things I think I forget about when I'm running lower keys. And I'm just like looking around. I'm just like seeing everybody die around me. I'm like, what is going on?
Whoa.
What's happening? I do this in 10s all the time. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. It's just, it works different. It just works different.
Like no one, like, oh man. Yeah, that's hard. I played with Yodabot on Monday because dummy me, I fell down the stairs Sunday night and I was just like so beat up and I was like, oh my goodness, like hurts to sit. But weirdly enough, and this is bro, you're gonna take this as face value and be like, oh, what a nerd. He just wanted to stay home and play WoW. Oddly enough, it did not hurt to sit in my gaming chair.
Hey, whatever works.
So I like sat in my gaming chair and played like a little WoW in the morning, and then like I just like basically laid in bed for the rest of the day. But like we played some your favorite delves because I was like, I was like maybe delves would be a good thing for him to just kind of jump in by himself and kind of learn a little bit, right? And you know that's easy. Like once you get to 8, which I think we got to 6, we got to tier 6. Once you get to 8, I mean, you can get the bounty, which we did getting a bounty, and that gets you like a free piece of hero gear. So I was like, oh, this might be a good way of kind of getting that stuff done. And the weeklies were doing delves too. So I was like, oh, you know, get a little bit of gold in his bag too, doing these weeklies. But he
supposedly
seemed to do pretty well in those.
Yeah, no, he's been doing well. Yeah, and also for gear, if anybody's trying to gear up, the Hallowfall event. I don't even know what it's called.
Oh yeah.
But that gives I've heard pretty decent gear and good Warbound gear. So
yeah, that's the big thing, dude. Warbound gear, and it's champion. Every time the event happens, you can get one piece of champion gear, and then if you just do like the weeklies with it, you get veteran level gear, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I probably should have done that on that paladin, to be honest.
Oh man, probably. It would only probably take you like a couple minutes.
Yeah, probably. If I just took like 20 minutes, I could have had better gear. But
oh man,
it is what it is.
Live and you learn.
Live and you learn. Yeah, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll start gearing this character up so I can. Because we were trying to decide if we wanted to raid Mythic now or just do like heroic reclears / alt night type things. So I was like, okay, what do I do? Do I keep my alt? Like, so that was I was trying to figure out what to do for that.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to hear about your guys' Mythic progress. Hopefully it works out. I mean, I know when I raided with you guys, it just like never worked out. I think there was one like glimpse of hope that I was like, oh, like we might actually make a good Mythic push this season, but then it kind of just like fizzled.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna do it. I think we're just gonna push, and we're just gonna keep pushing. And if we have to pug a couple, then we pug a couple. Like whatever.
Yeah.
I think we're just committed to going. By the way,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna change topics. So if you had something better.
I was gonna say, it kind of seems like the first couple bosses might be a little bit easier, so that always helps too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
in a way, right?
Yep. At least the first two, right? I think we got Vexy Cauldron. We got 50%, so he's got to tighten up. He's got to tighten up mechanics, figure out how. Again, like a lot of these fights we've done so many times on heroic, but then Mythic, you have to kind of change your positioning, change how you do those fights, and so that's what we're adjusting to right now. But to kind of change topics a little bit, so this year at PAX East, they had a Blizzard panel, which is
kind of cool.
Yeah, uncommon for sure. But nice to see, I guess, because with the Microsoft buyout, maybe that played a part into it or something. But they did possibly. Did talk about a couple things that are going to be happening. One of which is the Legion remix. How do you feel about that?
I think it's kind of cool. I watched a little bit of the clip that talked a lot about it. Just kind of like the idea behind it. Hey, like we think Legion Remix will be nice because it kind of brings like those M+ people that really like M+. And to be honest, the way they kind of talked about it, it makes sense that it's this way because like I think part of the problem with Mist was there was a ceiling, right? Like it was capped, right? Mythic Orgrimmar or Mythic Siege of Orgrimmar was like your cap. Like once you did that, like that's it. And they kind of talked about Legion as like, hey, like you get into Mythic Plus, like you can push your key as high as you want, like 30, 40, like the ceiling is limitless, right?
Especially if they're allowing you to still get that kind of. I'm sure the gearing will be a little bit more dialed in because. Do you remember the frog farming, bro? The frog farming, I think, was crazy. Dude. So if they can dial it in just right, it would feel really cool with like kind of gear that feels like it's scaling infinitely, but also dungeons that scale infinitely. It'll be an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see it. I never really did the Legion story, so that'll be kind of cool to kind of go through.
Oh, I like the Legion story. It's a good one.
Granted, I don't think I actually did the what's it called story either.
Pandaria?
The Mist.
No, because you go through it so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to a certain point and I was just like so highly geared that I was like, I'm not gonna do any more of this. Actually.
Yeah, you just spam raid or whatever, and then you're good. Now, question about the Legion remix, and because this is my question when it comes to classic WoW. Legion remix. I didn't think they were going to include M+ in it. That was my thought. My thought was they won't include M+. I was hoping actually they would do a WoD remix first, but I get why they skipped it. I get why, but I thought WoD would have been a cool remix. It would have worked. WoD would have worked for a remix, just maybe not a whole classic expansion. But the question I have though, and this question is coming from the times I thought about Legion in terms of a classic release. Would it pull a chunk of the M+ scene away from retail M+, right? So like
That's a good point.
Right. Now, granted, with the way that Remix kind of works, maybe it'll be a different enough experience that it'll appeal to some players, but maybe not everybody. However, that is my concern, right? Because what happens if people go, if like half the player base goes, we prefer Legion M+, and half the player base goes, no, we prefer retail, like current M+. How do you navigate that, right? Like, then what happens if like you only have like 50% of the player base actually doing like current content for dungeons?
Yeah. I mean, I think it begs a lot of questions, because I think like historically we've seen these kind of remix events during like big lulls in seasons, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm assuming they didn't give like a date, that
probably
they
end of
just said it was
expansion,
confirmed.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably like the end of this expansion, but like is that going to coincide with this season 4 that we're talking about, that doesn't really line up with the roadmap that they gave us? Like they did Plunderstorm at the end of last season, because I don't know why, I just felt like last season felt like forever. So maybe,
which is funny because I think it was only like 12 weeks
Legion,
or something.
Honestly, I could see Legion Remix coming at the end of this season,
because I believe season 4 was only half as long as a normal season, which sounds crazy. But I'm pretty sure it's only half as long. Yeah.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, I think it was 12 weeks, and the normal season's like 24 or something.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure. What's her name on X? The Everything app talks about it. Jordan.
Oh my gosh,
dude! If you ever, check out Jordan.
Is that the reason you brought this up? Is that the only reason?
No. I was just saying. I think Jordan has good charts on WoW content.
Oh my goodness! But honestly, I think this could come as soon as this season. To be honest, because. Yeah. And it kind of bleeds into the next thing that's on our topic list, and I'll kind of hold it for this, or I don't know, maybe we just kind of go into that and kind of go back. This new mystery game mode that they're talking about, that I'll let you kind of talk a little bit more about, and then we can go back to this Legion remix, because there's one point in it that I kind of wanted to talk about that's kind of cool. This new mystery game mode. To be honest, I think that would come at the end of this expansion, because I have a feeling that it might have something to do with player housing.
Interesting.
As like an intro to player housing, like let's kind of do like something that like gets people hyped about player housing, and like maybe it has player housing-esque aspects. Maybe you can earn rewards for future player housing. Like I think that would make sense, because I think at the end of the expansion, when you kind of have like your pre-patch, right? Which I think, according to their timeline, is where I think we're going to start seeing things for player housing, right? Like it kind of makes sense to have something that like kind of pushes that envelope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now we do know that player housing is coming with pre-patch or something along those lines, because we have player housing on the roadmap, because they put that weird icon on there, and people are like, is this player housing? And Blizzard had to come back and update the icon, because like, yeah, guys, it's player housing. Like, it's not supposed to be a mystery.
Right.
Like that's what it is.
Right.
But what they did say about the mystery game mode is that it is going to be a Plunderstorm-esque kind of thing, right? So they said it's not a battle royale. It's not a battle royale, but it's going to be the same kind of thing that Plunderstorm is, right? So like a short-term game mode, PvP oriented. They did. I think they maybe referenced Duskwood as like the setting or location. I'd have to double check. But they did say it would be like kind of creepier, right? Like a creepier game mode. My suspicion, this is my theory. If I'm correct on this, and you remembered that I'm correct on this, like come to the Discord and be like, yo, Swag, you called it, or come to my stream or something and tell me that I called it. I think it's knowing the WoW game engine and like its limitations and the types of things they could or couldn't do. I would not be surprised if it's a Dead by Daylight style game.
That's kind of what I was thinking, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
Like that's actually what I was kind of thinking. I was like, oh, maybe it's like something kind of like Dead by Daylight or something like I forget what it's called, but like a similar kind of game like that, right?
Absolutely. That's my theory, at least. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. I'm pretty confident though that it's probably gonna be like a Dead by Daylight style game. Which again, though,
and
that would be an end of season 4 probably. Well, we say that, but then guess what? In season 1, we got Plunderstorm back.
yeah, that's true.
Right? So maybe Blizzard's playing with that, like, hey, end of a normal season. What can we do that helps make it feel a little bit elongated, right? And even this season, a lot of people are complaining about 11.1.5. They're complaining that it was too small of an update, which, by the way, it's fine. You know, like, it's a 0.5 update. Sometimes they have cool stuff, sometimes they don't, right? Not everyone can be banger. But I think also people are upset because they're kind of drip feeding, and everybody's like, don't time gate content. And it's like, well, it's not really time gated content, right? Like, time gated content would be like, hey, you want to level up your item? Well, you can only get 2 levels per week, right? That's like time gated, right? Like, hey, you can't do one now. That's time gated content, right? In this case, though, right, or like the mythic or the raid drop lockout, right? Like, hey, once you kill a boss in raid, you can't get that loot again. That's that's time gating, right? You know, I don't think this is time gating. I think this is just them going like, hey, we want to try and spread out the content we're giving you, so we're not dropping 4 events all at the same time, right? Hey, here's a couple events, pause. Here's a couple events, pause. Here's a couple events, right? So like we're kind of spreading out content so there's stuff to do at different times during the season. We're not overlapping things. I think it's just a release schedule, right? I think they just say, you know what, instead of releasing all the... And plus, because a lot of it's not even like, hey, here's a new like feature, right? Like if it was a feature like, hey, now you can transmog your face, right? Yeah, then you probably want to release that right away. But in this case, it's not really feature as much as it's just content to do. And so they're saying, hey, here's some content. Feel free to do this, enjoy this. At this time, this content will probably fade away. And then we're going to release some more content that's different that you can do, right? That to me just seems like they're trying to say, hey, what can make this kind of back half of the season? What makes this back half of the season still feel enjoyable, still feel smooth, still feel like there's things worth logging in doing, right? Not like you're obligated to, but just, hey, what are some fun things you could do? So to me, I think they're trying out some different things. We saw Plunderstorm at the end of last season. We're seeing some maybe slower releases of content in this 0.5 patch. So I wouldn't be surprised if a couple things. One, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this new game mode occur next season, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if near the end of season 3, maybe this game mode came out. I also wouldn't. Okay, and here's a couple thoughts because I don't know exactly how they're going to do the remix. So I'm just brainstorming random things. There might be info out there that already tells me I'm wrong. Okay, there might be info out there that already tells me I'm wrong. I would not be shocked if season 4 came along, if there even is one, right? That's also the question.
Yeah.
But let's say, right? Let's say season 4 came along. I would not be shocked if it was like, hey, you know what? Season 4 is actually just Legion Remix.
Yeah.
Like there's no like retail normal dungeon rotation. It's just Legion stuff, right? And we're not actually doing the infinite power scaling thing that we did before. Like, no, these will feel like normal M+ dungeons. You're gonna push them. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the move. If they're just like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
4th season, we're going completely 180. We're just doing something crazy, right? Like, would not be surprised. Now, on the other hand, I also get though if they be like, well, we don't want to do that because then players who are entering into WoW and buying the War Within as the new expansions kind of coming close to coming out want to experience the War Within, not experience Legion, right? So. You know, I could see either or. I could see them saying, hey, you know what? Legion Remix is going to come towards the end of Season 3, and then we'll have a very short Season 4, and then the launch of the new expansion, right? I don't know. I don't know what any of this means, what any of this looks like. You know, who knows, right? And that's kind of the crazy part. It's like, dude, what if? Because again, I think they're experimenting, and that's good, right? Which means that when we're theorizing, we can kind of take down maybe some normal limitations. What if like Season 4 was pre-patch? Like instead of just like a 2-week pre-patch, like we had like an 8-week Season 4 or something, right? Like a pretty short, like an 8-week Season 4. One of the M+ dungeons in rotation was actually one of the new expansion dungeons, right?
Oh, that'd be kind of neat.
The affixes were built around like what midnight will be like, right? Like I don't know, right? Like so anyways, those are just thoughts. Those are just like a bunch of different random thoughts of like kind of that question, what does it mean for because season 4, again, for anybody who remembers, season 4 was a Shadowlands invention in terms of like
Yes.
a rehashed season. It worked well for M+. Actually, it worked so well for M+, that they started just making dungeon rotations every season include old dungeons, right? So that dungeons worked out exceptionally well for Shadowlands season 4. However, the raid experience ain't there. The raid experience for season 4 isn't there. It wasn't fun in Shadowlands. It wasn't fun in Dragonflight. It was kind of dead. So that is the question. Like, how do they revive that? And so I'm curious to see season 4 this season. I really hope they just don't play the same play. I hope it isn't like Dragonflight season 4, where it's like, hey, here's you can redo the raids, and here's a dungeon rotation, and then in a few weeks we'll have Remix come out. And then you just do what you want, right? Like, I hope they try something new. I hope they experiment with season 4. I want season 4s to always be an experiment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think messing around with season 4 would be kind of cool. There was, well, real quick, actually. I was looking up the roadmap for War Within, because we always kind of have this debate on like, is there going to be season 4? Is there not? And I just want to say that the roadmap exists on Sports Illustrated. I don't know what that means, but you know.
Wait, what? Wait. What were you saying?
Super weird. There's like a WoW homepage for like Sports Illustrated called World of Warcraft. I don't know. And I don't want to spend too much time on it. It's kind of weird. I'll send it to you. But I was just like looking up the roadmap, and this kind of came up. It was the old roadmap too, but you know, I was kind of looking at the new one. And yeah, like,
dude, Sports Illustrated
like
does weekly postings on World of Warcraft.
Oh, really? Interesting.
No, not even weekly, dude. These are like daily, dude. Someone at Sports Illustrated is posting daily articles about World of Warcraft.
Huh. Well, that's kind of interesting, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, that's
wow. The
like,
War Within patch 11.1.5 full breakdown. New features, buffs, and meta impacts. Right?
Huh.
New leaks tease World of Warcraft Legion Remix coming this year. Massive class overhauls. WoW patch 11.1.5. 8 biggest changes. Liquid wins.
Dang.
WoW race to world first. Cements NA dominance in the War Within. Yeah, dude. Who has? Dude, that's awesome, man. I guess Sports Illustrated has a gaming division, right? Because I also see Fortnite, COD, Valorant, Pokemon, League of Legends, Marvel Rivals. Yeah, so I guess it's they have a whole esports section. I would have never guessed, dude. I would have never guessed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. But anyways, yeah, you know, I like the concept of kind of doing something different for season 4, and because season 4 is just like such a throwaway season. Like, it's like half the people don't even play, you know, and like you know, you mentioned something about like what did you mention? Like what would happen if this Legion remix comes out during, you know, a typical season? Like, how does that work? Is it going to split the audience? Is it going to split, you know, the player base? Because, you know, a lot of people would see Legion as like, oh, like big nostalgia factor. Yep. Like, hey, like I'm going to go back and play Legion because that's like, that was like my peak of WoW. Like that's where I enjoyed playing WoW, right?
But it also depends on what the gameplay is like, right? Because Pandaria gameplay was, right, if it's like previous remix, it's such a different experience that maybe we're fine.
Yeah.
But if it's too similar, especially the M+ part, that's the key. If the M+ is too similar, I think that could be a problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree. But, you know, how do they coin it where they don't, you know, kind of they can kind of coexist with each other? So, that'd be kind of interesting to see. And, you know, we talked about Legion Remix. We talked about this new game mode. I did want to just touch on this Shattered timeline that they're coming out with, which I think is huge. Like, I think this is a really cool. I'll explain it. It's really easy to explain.
Okay.
It's basically just a like hard mode for world content. That's literally what it is.
Okay.
Like basically it's like, hey, you know, you do world content, like you like the questing, like that kind of stuff. This is basically just, hey, we're just gonna make world content a little more difficult and a little more rewarding. It's basically literally like hard mode for world content, which I think is like a neat concept.
Is that
And,
like
you know,
leveling world content or just like max level world content?
It's not. It wouldn't be like dungeons and raids. It'd basically just be like, hey,
Well, I
like
mean, like,
maybe
is it?
rare bosses.
Yeah, okay, that's the question, right? Like, is it like max level world content of like world bosses, quests, dailies, etc.? Or
Yeah,
is it
I
like,
think it's.
is it like,
I
hey,
think
I
it's
want to
that.
level
Yeah.
a new character and I want to go through? Because that's also part of the question, right? Like, and maybe that's included in this,
Well,
maybe not. But let's say, because we're talking about Legion, right? If I made,
yeah.
and you haven't played through Legion, if I made a new
Yeah.
character right now and started leveling through Legion, I think I would get through like 1.5 zones or something, and then, or maybe 2 zones, and then I'm max
Yeah.
level, right? And
Yeah.
so much of that content you just can't do. And so like part of me
That
is like,
makes
okay,
sense.
maybe does that apply to that? So that if I want to go through an experience story in a certain area, I can be like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna activate hard mode, so my leveling's a little bit slower. Not right. And this is again not for the person who's trying to level, but this is for the person who's just trying to enjoy leveling, right? Just go, no,
Like
I want to.
enjoy. Yeah.
I want to go through the
Enjoy the
story.
questing.
I want to experience that. I want to see the world, right? Like I want to learn what's going on in WoW. That that could be cool. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe I would not use it, but I would know people who would. I wonder if that's included. Sorry, that was my only thought. But I do like the idea of like maybe harder world content at max level too, right? Harder world bosses. Could be a cool
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, they don't go into super detail. They just kind of say like, hey, it's this new increased difficulty for open world players and you know that kind of world tier. Or it's inspired by Diablo, so maybe that might, you know, if you're listening, jump in Discord, let us know if that's like, oh, like Diablo has this and it's basically just like questing is harder, like world quests are harder, not like, you know, rares and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting concept. I feel like world, like questing players and world players just kind of get like thrown over a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like everything's like, oh, Mythic Plus, wow, or Mythic Plus rating, maybe PvP. Oh, all right. People do world content like every single day.
Absolutely.
But
so, Chicken,
anyways.
big question for you. Big question for you. Are you gonna get the new Brutosaur?
I don't know what that is.
A Brutosaur, dude.
I mean, we just had one not too long ago.
Yeah, but
right?
are you gonna get the new one?
I didn't know there was a new one.
There's
to
a
be
new
honest.
Brutosaur. There's a new Brutosaur coming.
No way! Stop.
Nope, dead
this
serious.
Is a meme.
Dead serious.
This
Well,
has to be a meme.
I'm half serious. There is a Brutosaur pet, a mini Brutosaur pet with the new BFA time walking that you can do.
Oh,
so,
really?
I know we were about to go into some of that conversation. I think there's also a mount that you're excited about, and I'm excited about personally. So just that was my little segue into the conversation.
The new Brutosaur pet. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that there was that. That's kind of neat, actually.
I mean, it's just a baby Brutosaur. I mean, obviously it doesn't have like an auction house or anything on it. It's just a little baby dino that follows you around.
Yeah, that's kind of funny though. I was like, new Brutosaur. I was like,
dude, I can tell you're like, dude, oh my gosh, Blizzard's selling out.
Bro, I already thought the first Brutosaur was Blizzard selling out. Like,
dude, that was the best purchase I've ever made.
Dude, well, I don't think I disagree with that, but I have theories on why they did it. But
yeah.
maybe we'll start
Blizzard made bank off of that, dude. Because
dude,
every raid night. I mean, you saw it last night, right? One person goes, "Does anyone have a Brutosaur?" And then like 15 people
and
mount
like everyone and their sisters like, "Oh
right?
yeah."
And then we start singing the like Jurassic Park theme song or whatever.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts.
It's
crazy.
Nuts. But anyways, there is a new BFA time walking mount that's going to be coming. I don't believe it's coming into the. Originally, it was theorized that it was going to come to the little store thing, right?
Yes.
But I don't think it's coming to the store thing. When I say store thing, I don't mean the Blizzard store. I mean the time walking, like you go to the time walking vendor. I believe it's like a reward for some quest line or something with time walking this time around. And so that
we speculated last week that was going to be like how it kind of goes, but it was confirmed like after the podcast release that that is how it's going to be. Kind of, awesome. You know, you just have to kind of roll through the I think 5 weeks. I think there's 6 weeks of dungeons, but you only have to do 5 weeks of them.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes along with the turbulent time waves event where you get like the higher XP and that kind of stuff.
It's still so funny to me that at the time in Shadowlands when Tazavesh came out and the pirate dragon was there, right? What's the line? It's like, our captain's a pirate? Our captain's a pirate or something, right?
Yeah.
But at the time they were like, oh, because everybody was like, oh, how do we get this mount? What can we do to get this mount?
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
that was what people wanted. And Blizzard came back and was like, no, we're not going to give this out as a mount. We still have more story to tell with this dragon. After the story is done, maybe it'll become an option, right? So I think it's just funny to me how that was like a big deal that there's more story and then now there's not. So, you never know. You never know with some of these things. I'm excited though that's coming out because it is such a cool look. So it'll be cool to try and work towards that. And then we also have turbo boosting starting this week. How much do you know about the turbo boosting?
How much do I know about it?
Or
I think
turbo
the only
boost?
thing I know about it is the gilded crest like slashed in half for crafted gear.
Yeah.
That's like all I know about
So I'm not
But-
incredibly knowledgeable, but the three things I know, so crafting is going to be cheaper. So it's only 30 gilded crest to craft armor, which is really awesome. That's super,
crazy.
super good. Yeah, super good. On top of that, I believe Mythic and Hero slot gears will have 2 extra ranks to them. So it'll go 2 ranks
really?
higher. Yeah. So I think, well, what does that cost? Like 6 more eye levels or something like that. They can get
Okay.
something like that. And then there's going to be a belt, I believe. The belt might come later. The belt might be a 0.7. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought the belt was later.
Belt might be later, but there is a belt coming eventually that like I think it's going to start at like eye level like 684 or something. It's going to start stupid high, and then you can bring it up from there. Kind of similar to the ring, kind of similar to the previous ring neck thing, whatever. All that to say, though, just know that as this season progresses, there's going to be a lot more power that your player can get. Even if, like, right now it feels like you're pretty capped out. Even if you're like, nope, dude, I got full mythic gear. Trust me, you can go even higher starting on Tuesday.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that's kind of a neat little thing that they're doing. I wonder why they're doing that, though.
I think it just keeps the game interesting, right? Because all of a sudden that content, you and I are like, oh, this is where we're stuck at. We're stuck at 10s. That's it. Now all of a sudden 11s and 12s becomes more feasible. So I think it keeps content more interesting a little bit longer.
Yeah. Now the real question is this: do the things from Dinars get that increased?
Yes.
They do get those increased to upgrade tracks?
Originally, they said the Dinar items, and we'll find out this week, but originally they said the Dinar items were going to be 1 track that you can level up as high as you want. However, I believe they went back and changed that to where the Dinar items are specific tracks, hero or mythic. So, the Dinar items will also contribute towards that. But now, Chicken, you know what time it is.
It's time.
Part of the day.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I was watching episode 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh the other day for whatever reason.
What? Why?
I don't know. Dude, it's so ridiculous, man. I'm like watching like Yugi summon the 5 pieces of Exodia. Anyways, off topic.
Off topic. Gosh.
Now, dude, it's time for our listener questions. And as always, if you're listening to the podcast right now and you have a question that you want to bring to us to talk about on the podcast, all you have to do is join our Discord. There's a link in the description. Join our Discord and go to the Pod Questions channel. We also have a pod discussion forum. So if there's topics on the podcast that you're like, yo, I want to talk more about this. You guys brought this up on the podcast. You had an idea. I disagree with it, or I want to go further into it. Pop into that podcast discussion little forum page within our Discord. We love continuing the conversation. Even though Chicken and I are starting it here on live as we record, we love to continue that conversation with you on Discord. So with that said, here are our listener questions. First question coming in from War Gramps. He says, since the introduction of the rotation assist and 1-button rotation, I've been hearing a lot about the game being too complicated. The boss mechanics are crazy, mobs doing bad things, etc. Since I was away from the game for 8 years and recently getting back into it, I personally don't find it to be that way, but I haven't raided or ran M+ dungeons yet. What is your feeling? Does Blizzard need to dumbify the game?
Well, I have thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to start?
Hey, you go first. You go first.
I mean, personally, I don't think they need to dumbify the game. Okay, so there's there's two trains of thought here, right? And the first train of thought is, hey, how do we make people understand their rotations better, right? Rotation assist is one button rotation, yada yada yada. The second train of thought is, how do we make things generically easier as a class, as classes, right? As roles in the game, right? Do we kind of blanket DPS where, they have similar-esque rotations that are more, they're just kind of like personally geared more towards, the spec or the class, right? Personally, I think that side is a big no-no. Like, obviously I think different roles and different, classes specs should be pretty different and just, offer different variety of gameplay. Personally, we talked about this last week where, WoW's not an easy game by any means, right? It's pretty difficult, right? I mean, when you get up to the higher end content, it's not easy, right? Like, little mistakes that you make, little things that you do can, cost you DPS, can cost you obviously health, can kill you, right? So I don't think they need to dumbify the game, but I do think that anything they can add to help people maybe push themselves a little bit higher is always good. Like, I'm never going to complain about them adding, little things to the game that might just help, like, those people that are just struggling a little more push themselves a little more, right? Like, and we did kind of talk about this, last week, is kind of like, hey, this one button rotation probably isn't going to help people like that are doing normal raids, like push into mythic raiding, right?
Yeah.
Like, it might help them push into heroic, right? Maybe get, a couple heroic bosses down, but it's not going to be like so broken that it's like, oh, like, I can mythic raid now because I got one butt rotation. Like, no, like, it's going to help people, right? And I think that's what I, at the end of the day, take away from it. I might not use it, but it'll definitely help people, hopefully.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of thoughts, especially on this question here of, like, does WoW need to be dumbfied? Is it actually too difficult? And I think it's the same conversation that we had really last week with when it came to the one button assist or the one button rotation. And that is that, like, I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in our bubbles. And when we get caught up in our bubble within WoW, because WoW is a huge game, right? So when we get caught up within our bubble, we don't fully understand who the player base of this game actually is, right? Because it's such a diverse player base. And so, Chicken, you made a comment, and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't say WoW's an easy game, right? Like, but the reality is WoW is a very easy game. Dude, WoW is a stupidly easy game if you want it to be. Yeah. And WoW is also a stupidly complicated game if you want it to be. True. And I think what's happening right now, because of Warcramps, I'm hearing the same thing. For anybody else that listens to the podcast that also listens to maybe other content creators, other podcasts, I know I've been hearing a lot of it on the Podyssey, and especially I think I've been hearing a lot of it on the Bench lately. Any of those podcasts with players that are playing top tier, listen to streamers. They'll talk constantly about how difficult the game is, and that the game actually needs to be simplified. There's too much happening on pools. Rotations are too complicated. They'll talk about the 20 different conditions that you need on your arcane mage to hit barrage or something, right? But the reality is that they've made the game into that for themselves. They've done that. The game naturally is not like that, right? It's just not. But they've said, no, we want it to be like that, right? And so that is where you have to be careful, because Warcramps is commenting, he's like, dude, I don't think WoW's too difficult, but he's not doing M+. He's not pushing high-end rating, right? And guess what? I think Warcramps is probably having a great time playing WoW. He's probably really enjoying it. I love M+. I'd suggest trying it. But also, you might try M+, and be like, yo, I hate this. This is the worst. WoW allows you to kind of just enjoy the game at the pace that you want to enjoy the game. And so I think that's and the reason why it reminds me of the conversation about the rotation assistant or the one-button rotation is because people see the one-button rotation and they start trying to think about how that will be implemented into the experiences that they're already having, right? So it's like, oh, is somebody going to be coming into my plus 14 with a one-button assistant doing more DPS than me? No, probably not. Probably not. The people that the one-button assist is for aren't going to be running 14s. They're going to be happy that with the one-button assist that they can hold their own in like a 7. They're going to be like, dude, I hold my own in this plus 7. This is amazing, right? Like, now I can worry about the mechanics on the ground. I can do this. The problem is right, there's colorblind mode for WoW. That doesn't mean everybody who plays WoW needs to use it or is colorblind, right? And so there are a group of players who, for whatever reasons, maybe physical, maybe mental, just absolutely like would benefit off this. You know, I know some like incredible players. I've met incredible players who, maybe they're just getting older and they don't want to worry about huge rotations or crazy things or complicated ways to play the game, right? I know players I've met a couple actually, multiple who have had strokes and now struggle to upkeep a rotation that they used to be a lot better at maintaining, right? And now they just enjoy doing somewhat easier content because they can do it, right? I know players who have gotten like issues with their wrists, carpal tunnel, surgeries, whatever, that cause hand trouble, right? That they literally just cannot move their fingers as much as they used to, right? And so there's so many different players. I know players who literally just cannot do keybinds as much as it would help them. Just if they started keybinding things, they literally would just not be able to comprehend remembering all of them, right? Just memory loss troubles. So but they love WoW. They love WoW, and they have friends in WoW, and they want to do stuff with those friends in WoW, and they want to enjoy the game. That's what the one button assist is for. That is what the one button assist is for. I don't think it's for people trying to learn how to do the rotation, because again, it's not teaching anything. You're just spamming a button, right? The Hikili replacement, the suggested rotation, I think that maybe is a little bit of a starting ground. I know high-end players wouldn't suggest it, but again, high-end players their suggestions are all for like, if you're trying to push into 15s, how do you do it, right? If you're just trying to enjoy the game and like learn a little bit, that's a great tool. That's a great tool to do that. And so I really don't. I mean, to some degree, sure, maybe they can simplify rotations a little bit. But part of the reason why people complain about WoW being too complicated or rotations being too crazy or whatever is because they're sitting there using computers to map out the like absolute perfect rotation, right? And like min-maxing every tiny little detail of every spell and trying to learn how to keep up everything. Again, because they're running content, anytime you have infinitely scaling content, right? That's the thing here. Infinitely scaling content requires like you to tweak every little single thing and perfect every keystroke. But for the average player who's not trying to push content at the absolute limits right now, dude, they're just chilling. They're enjoying the game. And so I don't know. And I think the complexity of WoW is something fun about it. Sorry, I know I'm ranting about this for a while. I think the complexity of WoW is something fun about it, where you can get into WoW and you can just start playing right away. Like Yodabot, he's our great example. We've talked about him so much on this podcast episode, but he's learning WoW right now, right? And how he understands his character right now is in a very simple way. But he came to Raid and he enjoyed Raid and he's running dungeons with us, but he understood it in a very, very simple manner. Give him like another month. And I guarantee that he's going to be like more complicated in his rotations and more masterful of how he's doing stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the fun of WoW. The fun of WoW is that like, there's a learning curve. And I think it's a very smooth learning curve, right? Some games have like a horrible learning curve. But I think WoW is a very smooth learning curve of like, you don't need to be the best to do content. Right? Like,
heck no.
Right? It's not like it's throwing you into a PvP match against other players right off the bat. No, unless you choose to do that. But yeah, so anyways, I don't think WoW's too complicated. Maybe there's some specs that could be simplified if they want. But also at the same time, if you want a simpler spec, I don't know, go play Beastmaster, right? Like, the options exist. The options exist. No, but I'm dead serious, right? The options exist. They're out there.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't have both your perfect theming and the exact like difficulty that you want, right? But again, or I don't know, Unholy I heard is pretty simple now, right? So you have
it's not too bad.
Yeah, you have options. Unholy used to be very complex, if I recall correctly. At least it seemed that way to
Oh
me.
yeah,
But,
yeah. Extremely complex.
yeah. But anyways, so you have options of like, hey, how difficult do I want it to be? Because for some people, a more complex rotation is more fun, and for others, a simpler rotation is more fun.
Yeah.
And then for some, a one-button rotation allows them to at least play with their friends and enjoy the game they love.
Exactly. No, well said.
Yep.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, as much as I hate on it, dude, if delves are what are fun for you, delves are what are fun for you. I might not like them, and that's okay. WoW is a huge game. Do what you want.
Yeah, hopefully that answered the question for you.
Yeah,
obviously it did. Let's be honest.
I think it was
great.
that was a good conversation.
We're great at
good
answering
discussion.
them.
Yeah. All right, next question coming in from our boy Sweet Dude. He says, less spice for you today, lol. Wasn't spicy or mad about, just curious thoughts. No, you're all good. I was joking about the spicy comments last week because I think, I think there was a lot of hot takes. And so I think hot takes oftentimes get responded with like hot answers, right? And so I think last week with so many hot takes out there from content creators, it was easy for everybody commenting to also like comment, a hot take back. But anyways, how do you all prepare for the RNG gods? Do you have a sacrifice ready to prepare, or just do it like a rain dance?
Oof.
And I'm pretty sure it's specifically talking about vault opening, most likely.
I mean, it has to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, this is how I do it. I freaking go upstairs, get my Sonic cup, put a little water in it, put a little G Fuel, Dragonflight acai berry, shake it up.
Just a reminder, if anybody G Fuel's listening, well, listen, we got sponsorship openings here, some openings for partners on the podcast. So,
bro, we should
reach out.
Use code Warbands. Just kidding.
Yep. WarbandPod@gmail.com. Just use an email,
dude. Although, like, this is this is obviously a joke, right? I feel like there is like a very specific thing where I'm like, I gotta open it at like a very specific time. Like this is like malarkey, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like it's the only day that I come home like straight from work and just get right on WoW. Like I'm like, sorry, dear, like I gotta go open my vault. Because like I just got to do it right after work.
Dude, I stream on Tuesdays, and I can't even wait till stream starts to open my vault. I'll come home, and I know I should do it on stream because it's content. But dude, I get excited. I look forward to it.
Dude, I can't wait. I'm like, if I wait too long, I just know I'm not gonna get the right item. It's like, I don't know, dude.
Yep. I get that because other people start getting all the items, so then you can't, right? Like everyone else.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
Yeah, the faster you open it, because it's a list, right? So there's only so many good items that can be in the vault. And so the faster you open it after server reset, the higher your chance of getting the good items. Because once they run out, then you're just left with junk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, so for me, it's I actually have like I'm sorry to do this to you, sweet dude. I feel like I have a very serious answer to a very unserious question, and I think my answer is that I really work hard to change how I think about the vault, if that makes sense. And so what I mean by that is like the vault was initially integrated as kind of like a RNG protection system, right? So it's kind of like, hey, you had, or like a bad luck protection system. It's like you had bad luck this week. Here's another shot at gear. Hope that helps. And anytime something like that is added to the game, right? The dinars are a great example of that. Anytime something's added like that to the game, people start to then treat that as another expectation. And so I try really hard not to think about the vault as like an expected thing, if that makes sense. So the first thing I do is I try to fill up as many slots as I can. Because again, the more slots, the better my chances, right? And then second, I really do, and it helps me out a ton. It just helps me out so much. Is when I go to open the vault, I'm excited to open it. I'm excited to see what's in there. But most importantly, like I think of the vault as like a gift. Every time I open it, I'm like, I'm being gifted this, rather than like, hey, does it give me the thing I need? Because it helps me personally. It just helps me personally to open this up and be like, yo, the vault gifted me this cloak. The vault gifted me this trinket, right? I'm excited about that. This is awesome. Or I open up and it's like, oh, the vault gifted me some tokens that I can use for a gem slot or something, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, hey, I want to think about it not as something I'm owed, or not as like, oh, hey, I really wanted to give me this thing, because then I'm just like let down, right? Because then all of a sudden the bad luck protection thing just feels like another bad luck thing. And so I try to go, okay, it's been a week, start off the week, anything like a nice little gift, right? And so I try to walk in just being like, anything is a positive, right? Not go into it as like, oh, hey, I need to replace this piece of gear. I hope it's this piece of gear. I really try hard not to think about that, right? Like I never open and go, like I don't try to track which slots I need still so I can see if they're in the vault. I literally try to open the vault having no clue what I really, really need, so that when I open the vault, I can be like, oh, wow, this is cool. Because like the problem is, like, if I'm like, yo, I really need this trinket from Priory, and there is a trinket from Priory that I would love to see show up in my vault. Like if it showed up in my vault, I'd be hyped. I'd be so hyped. But I really work hard not to even think about that when I'm opening up the vault. So that way, if like a pair of socks gets dropped in my vault and I'm like, yo, actually I could use these socks. That's not too bad, right? I'm excited. And so that's the goal. And if there's nothing I can use, at least I filled up enough slots that I get some good tokens. I can get some I can kind of juice up my gear with some gems, right? So I think for me it's a mental thing. I try to prepare by like making sure that I'm treating it as a gift and not as just like something that I feel owed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, to be honest.
Yeah. Again, because I just don't want to be disappointed. I just don't want on Tuesday to be like upset, right? That's the worst way to start off your week, to be like, yeah, new season. Ah, dang it. Or new week. New week in WoW. Dang it.
Dang it.
I didn't get the thing I want, right? Now I got to wait a whole nother week to try again. All right, last question for the podcast coming from Nafi. What are your thoughts on racial imbalance at the moment? I'm thinking dwarf for DPS characters, and the big one being night elf for M+ skips. We've seen a choose your racial regardless of race being proposed as a solution. What do you think needs to be done, if anything? So the choose your racial regardless of race being proposed, there are some players out there who are just like, hey, let us just like pick our racials separate of actually making the character. So you make the character, and in the character creation, there's an option for which racials you want, but they're not actually tied to any races specifically. And so they're asking, like, do you think anything needs to be done about how racials are in the game right now?
Huh. Yeah, this one, I mean, I honestly feel like we might agree on this, but at the same time, like, I guess I'm not opposed to what you just explained, like a kind of a system where, hey, you can choose your race, and then kind of like almost like it almost feels like what's it called? Well, what it was called dragon riding before. Now I just think it's called something else. Sky riding, that's what it's called. Like where you can kind of go in and like choose like different things that are like extremely minor, right? But like to me, like every racial ability kind of ties pretty well in with that race. Like, you think of a gnome, like the big racial for gnomes is escape artist, where it kind of lets you get out of a rooted situation or like other similar stuns. And that's very like on par, like a gnome, like super small, like they can just kind of be like, oh, you threw a giant net on me, I'm just gonna like like walk out of it, right? And like little things like that. But to like me, like the player power that racials give you are so minimal in, I would say, at least 75% of gameplay, maybe even higher. I mean, unless you're pushing mythic rating, like, or like running, like going for like 0.1%, right? Like, just play what you want. Just play what looks cool. Like, I don't think a racial is going to be that effective on your class. Like this is the line for me. Like, I think racials is the line. Like, if they do this for racials, what is stopping them for doing it for a lot of other things, right?
Yeah, I mean, because at
like
that point,
minor player power,
right? Yeah, at that point, just get rid of racials, right? Like at that point, just don't have any, right? And I think this goes back to that previous question from Wargramps. At the end of the day, you're gonna play WoW how you enjoy playing WoW, and that means that players who want to do, again, infinitely scaling content, because that's important to remember. M plus is infinitely scaling content. Because I don't think raiders are too worried about this. I think this is more of an M plus concern.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe dwarves have a little slight benefit in raiding, but then again, gnomes for some stuff, and we've seen I think undead and blood elves use. But again, raid doesn't really seem to care as much unless you're like race to world first. World first kind of cares, but again, who cares? Who cares what world first does, right? Like, let them just do their thing. My thing though is this: like, you have infinitely scaling content, and players are going to try and use absolutely any freaking advantage that they want to use to get, or like that they can use, right? So if that means they have to play a night elf because they need shadow meld and they don't want to play a night elf, well, guess what? Suck it up. Do it. If you want to do infinitely scaling content and you want to juice that last little bit out of playing a night elf because you need the shadow meld, but you don't want to play enough because you think they're ugly, oh well, deal with it. But don't go and ruin like Timmy's gameplay over here because he's so excited to be in an MMO RPG and he gets to play as this character that has this special racial and that helps him blend in more. Don't ruin it. My hot take, Swag's hot take, hottest take ever. And by the way, Nafi, this is a great question because it is such a constant conversation. My hot take though is at that point delete M plus.
Whoa.
Like at that point, delete M plus, right? Delete M plus. And what I mean by that is like I love M plus. M plus is actually probably my favorite game mode in a while, or maybe raid is. I like both of them. I love M plus. I love raiding. They're kind of tied for me.
Yeah.
I don't want M plus gone. I don't actually want M plus gone. But what I'm saying is like if the whole game has to change, like if the actual core identity of the game has to change so that the top 0.1% of M plus players are happy. Because again, we're not talking about most M plus players. We're not even talking about a quarter of M plus players, or even half of M plus, or like right, like we're talking about like the top 0.1% of M plus players.
Yeah, right.
Like if the whole game has to change to keep them happy because they want to have their cake and eat it too. Okay, well, guess what? Like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, if you need to play a dwarf because you need that extra defensive, then play a dwarf because you need that extra defensive. Or if you really don't like playing a dwarf, then just don't play a dwarf. And don't get that extra defense. Like, whatever. It's so minor. It's so stinking minor. But we create these, like, mental rules of, like, well, no, because in order for me to do this dungeon, no, it's only that complicated because you're choosing to play it at such a complicated level. Don't go and take away, like, this identity thing. I do think the choose your own racial is kind of dumb. I would say just no racials at that point. Right, but then if Blizzard's removing racials to keep the top 0.1% of M plus players happy, then just delete M plus, right? Just delete M plus or cap M plus. Just say, you know what? No more infinite scaling. It's capped at a 12. Deal with it, right? Now I'm just kind of ranting, right? I'm kind of just like spewing frustration at the moment. But Nafi, it's such a good question because I do think it's a kind of what's the bird they used to bring into the mines to tell if it was like if they're gonna die or not?
I've
canary,
no idea.
Right? Like they used to bring canaries into mines, and like the canary would like faint or something. They knew there wasn't like enough oxygen or whatever. Something, right? You know, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine, right? The moment they're like, oh yeah, do we just get rid of racials because it's not fun for a small group of M plus players? Okay, you know what? Maybe this is a warning sign. Maybe something's not right. You know. And so I do think we need to be careful that like we don't allow just one part of the game that is infinitely scaling to like dictate so much. If they want to come back, if Blizzard wants to come back and be like, hey, you know what? We do see that racials are a problem. They're causing a problem in raiding. They're causing a problem in M+. They're causing a problem in PvP. Then there's two options that Blizzard can do at that point. One, they can go and kind of maybe make tweaks to a lot of the racials to kind of simplify them more, right? Maybe nerf them a little bit. Maybe make them more cosmetic. Maybe, I don't know, right? Or two, they just say, hey, you know what? When you enter into instance content, your racial just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Like whatever.
That makes sense.
Whatevs, like right, like hey, you or even if it's just like in this specific case, if it's just M+, hey, guess what? You the dungeon switched over to an M+, a key was put in the keystone, racials are disabled. Okay, cool. Sounds good. whatevs, move on, right? That would probably be my answer. My answer would just be like, hey, maybe just make racials not work inside an instance or inside M plus specifically. But again, I think it's such a minor thing. Like, I think it's such a minor thing in such a small group of players that, like, these are players who create this problem for themselves. They've created this problem for themselves. And it's like, hey, either, like, I don't know, right? You know, at some point you just kind of want a little bit of everything. But that's my rant. That's my rant about that. I think racials are a nice little small touch in the game that helps keep the game feeling like an RPG. That helps keep the game kind of feeling like choices matter, right? And so it's a small thing, but it is a nice little element to the world building of WoW. To be like, oh yeah, this is my racial on this character. I forget that I have this sometimes, or this is a nice like little extra thing that I can do sometimes.
Yeah, it's I kind of like how you said it. Like I feel like that's the line, right? Like if they get rid of racials, like that's a line that I feel like they've crossed, and that would change like a lot of things. Like I really do think it would change a lot. Yeah,
right. I think at that point, WoW's no longer an RPG, and now theoretically, yeah, it would still be classified as an RPG based upon like other metrics. But I do think that at that point we would step back and go, the WoW developers no longer think of WoW as an RPG.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I agree.
But anyways, that is all the time we have for today's podcast recording. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you want to continue the discussion, we've mentioned a few times, but the Discord link is down below in the description. And we will see you again next week.
Yeah, we will.